Good morning, fourth grade. We are going to continue reading our story about Aset, or Isis, devoted wife and mother. Before we begin reading, I want you to think about, why is Kovna Place an important part of this story so far? And if we're looking back in our text, we know that Kovna Place is where the box that held Yusir ended up, and that is where Aset wants to be right now. All right, so silently write down your answer, press pause if you need to, and then play when you're ready for the vocabulary. Today in our small groups, we're going to talk about what motivates Aset, or Isis, to act the way she does. What do these actions reveal about her character and values? Before we start reading, we need just to review these three vocabulary words. The first one is immobile. That means not moving or motionless. And obviously we have our Statue of Liberty, who's not moving. She's immobile. Our next word is instinct. That's when you behave a certain way because that is how you were made. And so we have these little baby ducks following their goose mother all in a row. And that's just an instinct that they have. And then last, we have morose. That means sullen or ill-tempered. That's a feeling you have. It's not a positive feeling. Okay? Great. We're going to start reading on page 52 at the top. And again, we're focused on our cause and effect strategy. And we're going to figure out, how does Aset end up at Kovna Place? All right? So let's begin reading. Remember, first we're going to look for the effect. What happened? Then we're going to look for, why did this happen? Back on the shore of Egypt, the goddess Aset lay desperate. Moons had passed, and still she remained immobile. But now she was woken from her grief-stricken stupor by the insistent calls, boo, 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 and again, boo, 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 all around her, boo, boo, boo. We're going to pause right there. Underline this sentence. But now she was woken from her grief-stricken stupor by the insistent calls, boo, 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 and again, boo, 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 all around her, boo, boo, boo. This sentence has cause and effect in it. So now we're thinking, okay, what happened? Well, she was woken up from her grief-stricken stupor. That's the effect. That's what happened. Write effect number 1 out beside this part. And then press pause to write it in box 1A. And then, what's the cause? Why was she woken up? Well, she has these, which are probably birds, but some kind of animal is calling out, boo, 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 boo. She was woken up by the calls of an animal. Write that down for cause. Aset was woken up by the calls of an animal. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready to keep going. We're at she sat up. She sat up agog at the flock of hoopoes with their colorful crests strutting in profusion. Those are birds. These were the birds who had nestled in the cedar the king had cut down. They were mourning its loss. They had flown all this way searching for a substitute tree when they spotted Aset and instinctively were drawn to her. Instinctively, they understood her grief matched theirs. The birds called boo, 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 and Aset stood boo, boo, boo. The birds took to the air and circled around her. Aset followed, and the procession moved east, a wavering line along the sands, spiraling in the heavens. All right, and so we want to know, what happened? What happened? Well, it says they have flown all this way for a substitute tree. They flew all the way for a substitute tree when they spotted a set. That's the second effect. Underline the sentence. They had followed all this way for a substitute tree when they spotted a set. That's the effect. Okay, and why did they spot her? Well, if we go to the second part of the sentence, it says they were drawn to her. That's the first part of the cause. They were drawn to her. And now we need to keep thinking, well, why were they drawn to her? Well, it says they understood her grief matched theirs. That's the second part of the cause. The birds were instinctively drawn to her, and that's because they understood her grief matched theirs. And we can even go back up here. They were mourning its loss, or they were mourning the loss of the tree. Write that down for the third cause. They were mourning the loss of the tree. And we know that's the tree that held Usir. And so these birds are feeling connected to Aset somehow. They don't know that she was Usir's wife. They don't know that, but they feel like they are connected to her in some way. And as the reader, we know why they feel connected to her. They have both known Usir. Press pause to write down your answer. Press play when you're ready to keep reading. It says, the birds called boo, 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 and Aset stood. Boo, boo, boo. The birds took to the air and circled above her. Aset followed, and the procession moved east, a wavering line along the sands. Aset sensed an urgency in the birds, and hope swelled her heart. These birds were leading her to Usir. What could this mean? With each day, her hopes grew till her heart was ready to shred. All right, and so we need to think, well, what happened? Well, Aset followed the birds. She followed the birds to where they were leading her. That's what happened in 3a. Aset followed the birds to where they were leading her. And we need to think, well, why would she do this? Well, they were circling around her, is what our text says. And she followed them because she felt this urgency in the birds. She followed them because she felt an urgency and a hope in her heart. So she thought that's why she should go. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for number 4. It's on the next page. It says, there at long last was the splendid palace of Kubna. Aset wandered, sure the box will be past that wall, just round the corner, just under that eave, but the box was nowhere. And that's what happened. Aset got to Kubna and could not find the box. Write that down for 4a. And you can underline. There at long last was the splendid palace of Kubna, and you can also underline, but the box was nowhere. Without warning, without preamble, reason finally coated Aset's tongue with a bitter salt. Usir was dead. Whether she found the box or not, he was dead. It was almost as though he was nearby, with his spirit telling her that, forcing her to understand. Aset found a large, smooth, warm rock in the courtyard. She sat and wept. But these were tears of acceptance and exhaustion. It was over at last. So why couldn't she find the box? Well, she realized that Usir was dead. That's why she couldn't find the box. Underline this first sentence in the second paragraph and write that down for 4b. Press pause to write down your answer and play when you're ready for the paragraph. It says, how does Aset end up at Kubna Place? Please use the causes and effects that you found in your notes to help you write your paragraph.